Hello everyone. Welcome to Family Medicine week number 2, episode number 1. Who's excited with me? Ah! It's not really that exciting, to be honest. You can see the eye bags. I hope you guys have been sleeping well, studying well, doing your flashcards, brushing your teeth, showering. Today is week 2 of Family Medicine. I didn't record on week 1. It was very busy and I just honestly didn't have the energy for it. I didn't want to be fake. I want everything to be genuine. If I record for you guys, it's because I want to. It's not because I have to. And today's week 2. We're on our way to the hospital, and I'm not enjoying the patient population as much for this rotation. It's a lot of very grumpy people, which makes sense. That's why you come to the doctor. I don't think you come to the doctor because you're in a good mood. But at the same time, having to deal with the grumpy people at 8 a.m. makes me more grumpy. I don't know what else to talk about, to be honest. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later, and bye-bye. I think it was 2 days ago, I got a message from one of the medical students at IUHS, and I believe he was on block 9. He was finishing up, getting ready for the clerkship, and he reached out to me saying that he saw my vlogs and he found them beneficial. And honestly, from the stuff that he said, one thing that really meant a lot to me was that he thought that I'm very genuine. He said that I'm very upfront about the journey, about the ups and downs. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, it's very easy. I have everything under control. It's very manageable. I have no imposter syndrome. I have no stress, no anxiety. I just get the work done. And that's not the case at all. There's a lot that comes along with being a medical student on the mental health aspect and being mentally resilient. And one thing which I knew that I'm going to make sure is a staple of this channel and the way that I document my journey is that it's going to be 100% genuine. A question that I am asked very frequently, which is, how do you deal with the stress? How do you deal with the workload? How do you deal with studying every single day? There's a lot of ways you could answer this question. I think one underrated response to this question is, you have no other choice. We kind of sometimes think about our situations as if you have an alternative to not do what you need to do. There is no choice. I have no choice but to study. I have no choice. I have no alternative but to score highly, because if my ambitions are high, my effort has to match that. If the rarity of your ambitions don't match the rarity of your behaviors, then you're simply delusional. It's wishful thinking to think that you can match at a high competitive specialty or even become a doctor. Less than 1% of the US population are doctors or physicians. That's a rare thing. Not everybody accomplishes that. You need to understand that. And to become that person, to fit into that role, to achieve that goal, you need to come to terms with the fact that your behavior has to match that, or else you won't simply make it as a Caribbean medical graduate, as a Caribbean medical student, or an IMG or FMG. You have to put the work in. You have to score highly on your step 2. You have to study every single day. You have to do your UWorld. You have to do your flashcards. You have to do your practice tests. You have to do them consistently. You got to revise your mistakes. So that's one of the realizations that I had when I was studying for step 1. There came a point where I was like, I have no choice but to pass step 1. I keep on thinking of this as if I could delay it, as if I could procrastinate, as if I could get around it. Once you become real with yourself, once you become serious about the path that you've decided to take, and you realize you have no other choice but to study, but to put the time in, it makes it a lot more tolerable to study for X amount of hours every single day. If you're behaving like a 50th percentile medical student, you're not going to score like a 90th percentile medical student. You have to do things others are not willing to do. You need to study every single day, which is something not every single medical student is willing to do. That's not a sacrifice they're willing to make. You need to ask yourself, what are my ambitions? Like, sit in front of a mirror and ask yourself, what do I want to make of myself in this world? And then ask yourself genuinely, like, maintain eye contact with yourself in the mirror and say, am I putting the time in? Am I serious? Do I even take myself seriously? Anyways, I hope you guys benefited from this. I'm going to get home, and when I get home, I'm going to show you guys the setup that I use for Anki every single day when I go through my 30 questions on UWorld or AMBUS. I just want to show you guys my study space. I have my mouse, my keyboard, my touchpad. I have my laptop on the side, and I have a monitor, and I also have 2 displays for pixel art just for fun. So I want to show you guys how I create flashcards as I'm doing questions. So on the left side, I'll have ChatGPT open. In the middle, I'll have my question bank. Now, whether that's AMBUS or UWorld, it'll be in the middle. On the right side, I'll have Anki. So I'll have the card creation page open on the right side. And then on the bottom right, I'll have the browse section open. And the reason for this is that every single AMBUS or even UWorld has a question ID. And a lot of times, if you search the question ID in the sidebar, it'll bring you flashcards that are made for that question. So if I search up, for example, this number,
So 1942, if I click on it, it will bring me flashcards which have the tag 1942, which is a question ID associated with them. And these flashcards are basically testing concepts associated with the question ID. For copyright's sake, I'm going to use a sample question that's already online and it's free to access for everyone. The prompt that I'm always going to feed ChatGPT before I put my questions into it is this. For every question I send you, explain your reading through the question, what the high yield points are, which answer choices the high yield points eliminate, and lastly, a mechanistic explanation of the answer choice with the clinical scenario in the question stem. So I'll show you guys how this works. So let's just say I were to copy paste this question. Let's just say I do this and I choose pheochromocytoma and I get it wrong. I will copy and paste the question here. So when you read through these explanations, it'll help you and train and condition you to read through question stems in a systematic way and in a way that allows you to eliminate answer choices or even guide your clinical thinking down a pathway which will most likely lead to the right answer. And at the end, it'll provide you with elimination strategies based on the high yield clues that were provided to you in the question stem. On AMBUS and UWorld, you'll be provided with an explanation at the bottom, but a lot of times they're very short and they're not very thorough. So ChatGPT is very helpful for that. The last thing I want to show you guys is how I would create a flashcard. So let's just say I chose pheochromocytoma and the answer choice over here says hematuria is not seen. So if in the question stem hematuria was shown and I chose pheochromocytoma, this information should have, in theory, helped me eliminate this immediately, but it didn't. So if I want to remember that, I will create a flashcard that says, what are the characteristic urine findings in, and then I'll put, for example, pheochromocytoma. And to contrast this, I'll put, for example, bladder cancer. I'll write no hematuria. And for bladder cancer, I'll put, for example, painless hematuria. And I'll put this in a close over here. And lastly, I will almost always, screenshot the question from which I'm creating the flashcard from. I'll screenshot the question stem and also the explanation, and I'll show you why. So let's just say I create this flashcard, and now I want to do the flashcard. I'll go click sample, and it says, what are the characteristic urine findings in pheochromocytoma and bladder cancer? I have an add-on that lets me choose the answers one by one. So bladder cancer, I'll click it, and then I'll click show answer. If I got it right, I'll put easy or good. And if I didn't get it right, I'll put show me this again. And as you can see, when I click show answer, I'll get access to the screenshot of the clinical vignette, which is associated with this concept. So if I'm ever wondering, how can this show up in a question? The screenshots below will help show me how that would be the case. And this is something I really recommend for everyone. And I have this for almost every single one of the flashcards I make. So if I click study now, you'll see a question. In neonatal cholestasis, the stool is what color and why? And if I click show answer, I'm going to blur this because of copyright, but it'll show me a clinical scenario in which this is important in. I don't recommend that you guys necessarily do 30 questions, but for some person, their limit might be 10 questions or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40. It might be more than me. You need to choose what the sweet spot is for you. If it is very low, if you could only do 5 questions a day, definitely start with 5 questions, but try to work yourself way up to 10 questions and then 15 questions. And then cap yourself at 30 or 40 questions. Guys, we have gotten our haircut. I did all of my family medicine Anki flashcards while I was getting a haircut. I think I got through 150 of them. And now I only have 25 flashcards for pediatrics left. I'm gonna go to the gym. And while I'm doing cardio at the gym, I'm gonna get the rest of my flashcards done.
Alright guys, it is currently 4 a.m. and I slept for 2 hours last night. I couldn't sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. Yeah, I don't know what I'm recording, but we got our bags ready. And now we're gonna head to the airport. I have my Anki ready so I can do that on the plane. And then when I land, I'm gonna do 30 questions of UWorld because I have to do 30 questions every day.
Alright guys, so we are officially in the room. I'm gonna go do some UWorld. I think I have 15 questions left to do. And then once I'm done, I'm gonna meet up with my friends and I'll see how much I can record, but it might just be like photos or like small videos here and there. And that'll be all. Anyways, I'll see you guys whenever I see you guys.
Alright, I recorded an entire outro for you guys, outlining everything I've done and a few words of advice, and I noticed it's not recording. In summary, today I woke up at 4 a.m. My roommate, his alarm wouldn't stop going off, so I couldn't go back to sleep. So what did I do? I opened up UWorld. I finished 25 questions, and I did very well actually, surprisingly. And I'm going to finish the rest of the block in my breaks, in my rotation. And afterwards, I'm going to begin with ambulatory medicine. I'm going to be finishing the entire family medicine section on UWorld today. And once I'm done, I'm going to start doing ambulatory medicine. And I think I'm going to take 5-6 days for that. And then I'm going to continue and start clinical neurology. So I'll put a photo of that, of my schedule on the screen. I can't take a break and say, you know what, I finished the family medicine section. Let me just take a break until my internal medicine rotation starts and then begin with internal medicine. But if you're striving for greatness, you need to embody greatness. Your lifestyle, your day-to-day has to ooze greatness, right? You need to set yourself apart from the 99%. Competitors aren't saying, you know what, I finished family medicine 3 weeks ahead of schedule, I'm just going to take a break. No, your competitors are working ahead of the clock. They're working tirelessly. And rightfully so. I mean, if you're trying to match into a competitive specialty, that competitive specialty demands for a certain level of grit, a certain level of resilience, a certain level of dedication, which that patient population requires, and that this step 2 board exam is trying to screen for. And one huge advice I have for people is to have high standards. Have high expectations for yourself. It's crazy what the brain will adapt to. If you hold yourself to a higher standard and say, you know what, I'm going to be doing 30 questions of UWorld every single day. It doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. It doesn't matter if I'm not feeling it. It doesn't matter if I'm having a bad day. 30 questions are just part of my daily schedule. The same way that eating is, right? You don't tell yourself, you know what, do I feel like eating today? You're going to eventually eat at least one meal because you have to. Your body requires it. You need to treat studying in the same way, that I'm going to be studying 30 questions a day, or I'm going to be doing my flashcards every single day, no matter how I feel, no matter what kind of a day it is, no matter what is going on, what event is happening. When you expect this from yourself and you actually carry it out, your brain adapts. It reconfigures its identity of itself, that, you know what, I'm actually the kind of student who can do this. So then it becomes second nature to you. Ask yourself, why can't you be the student that gets a 95 percentile score on a board exam? There is no reason why you can't do it, because if you've gotten this far, you can make it the rest of the way. Hopefully the next video you guys see of me will be either Family Medicine Episode 2, or it'll be the Pediatrics Rotation and Review, where I give you guys my tips and advice on how to honor your pediatrics rotation, how to prepare for the shelf exam, and how to carry yourself in a way that secures for yourself a good evaluation on your pediatrics rotation, and also how to even prepare for the pediatrics rotation. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's vlog. I mean, even if you didn't, you really have no choice. You already watched it this far, hopefully. So I'm going to get going. As always, keep up with your UWorld, keep up with your Anki, have high expectations for yourself, have high standards, and understand that success is just the product of small victories, small acts of discipline on a daily basis. It's nothing more than that. Getting a 280, getting a 260, getting a 270 on step 2, or whatever success looks like to you, is not one big decision you make. It's not one big achievement you get one night or one day or 1 week. No, it's the product of very small victories, but consistent, disciplined victories on a daily basis. And then this accumulates, and eventually it results in a huge big success that people will ask you, well, how did you do this? Well, it's not about one night, it's not about 1 week. It's about a mentality, it's about a schedule, it's about a routine, and it's about a commitment. So stay up to date with your Anki, stay up to date with your UWorld, and you will reap the rewards of it later on. And if it doesn't, that honestly sucks to suck, but you will definitely reap the rewards. So anyways, as always, I don't know how to end the vlogs, so I will see you when I see you.